Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight in what you can do with all this information instead of just having a headline that gets you to click on an article and literally provides zero substance about that information. At the end of the day here, you guys, we want to put information out there that you can apply and utilize and see a difference in your business, because it's why I proudly fly that American flag behind me every single day, because I'm living my American dream and I want to see each and every one of you guys live your American dream as well. Before we get into today's show and the articles and the amazing guests that I have on here today, got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub, you guys, vhubapp.com. Access to trailers. We all need them. Shippers, brokers, carriers alike. You got to have access to them. This is a way for you to differentiate yourself. And, you know, right now, especially with rising fuel costs and everything else, there is, this is a way for carriers to make money with this stuff. You know, if you're a one truck operation or you have a couple of trucks, you should never have to shut down your business because your truck is in the shop. So what we got going on right now, you guys, they have, Glade Spring, Virginia, as well as Paragould, Arkansas, brand new 2023 drive-ins going out to Orting, Washington, which is just outside of Tacoma, and you get paid $15.50 to do that. That's on top of the revenue you can get by loading up the back of that trailer with some freight. And then they also have a reefer out in Clearfield, Utah, needing to go to Henderson, Colorado. You get $700 to do that. And then they also have down in Miami, or just outside of Miami, West Palm Beach, they got a reefer heading up to upstate New York, and you get paid $1,500 to do that. So again, you guys, hit them up, vhubapp.com. Do me a favor, let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Hit up my man Xavier Campos and my friend Stacy Steen. They'll be in the audience here. Drew Driscoll, good morning. Let's fucking go. Sonny Sharma, good fucking morning. Orange Shirt Gang is in the house. That is a thing. Matthew Kane, good to see you, sir. Whitney Fowler, good morning to you as well. She's from Eastern Freight Brokerage. Let's fucking go. Arun Deep, what's up, brother? Good morning. All right, I'm going to bring my guest up here, you guys. We're going to talk about warehousing today. We're going to break all this stuff down and what's going on out there. So I got my man, Matt from Pop Capacity here today. Matt, what's up, brother? Thanks for coming back.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Matt was on the podcast a while ago, you guys. You guys should go back and check out that episode, you know, as well. But Matt, for those of you who don't know who you are or Pop Capacity, introduce yourself to the Freight Coach Nation, my man.
Yeah, man. So I am Matt Fain. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Pop Capacity here in Atlanta, Georgia. We're a digital marketplace for warehouse and fulfillment space. So in layman terms, we're an Airbnb for warehousing space. We're using AI, machine learning, and data to help push the right opportunity to the right service provider, i.e. a 3PL warehouse, and doing it all in this digital way. We offer virtual touring for visibility, right? We're offering a new way to procure warehouse capacity through a digital marketplace.
No, dude. And like, again, I was absolutely fascinated the first time we talked about all of this stuff, because again, it's like, what do you do? And, you know, as a freight broker, you know, like this is one of those things, you guys, that I feel like brokers can utilize as well, because the amount of times that I had freight rejected due to it shifting, I'll never forget this one specific large retailer in Southern Florida, West Palm Beach, Florida, to be exact, that love rejecting my loads of bottled water for whatever reason. And we had to find, I mean, we would always search and find a rework facility to get it repalletized and everything else. And, you know, we used Google back in the day, and then you never know. So it's like having something like Pop Capacity to be able to find out, like, hey, where are the warehousing that is in this area? What is actually available to do this stuff, as opposed to a private warehouse that won't even, you know, so it's like, to me, it's like coming to that solution a lot faster.
Yep, it is, right? It's just digitizing that process. I mean, we're doing it in trucking right now with digital freight matching. I mean, why couldn't we do digital space matching with a marketplace style technology, right? I mean, we said it on our podcast too. I mean, we could buy shoes or a house all through a marketplace, right? Something that's not so important, maybe pretty important to some folks like shoes, but a house, that's a really intimate purchase.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to be living there, right? Even though you and I practically live in an office somewhere, but like you live there and it's a more intimate purchase, but yet you give trust into a digital marketplace to procure something, right? So it's been an awesome journey. We've seen some great success, and we're just hoping that the supply chain just takes this opportunity to digitize this portion of the process and supply chain, and then take it across the other nodes. So
Dude,
times, man.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And Dominic, what's up? Good morning. Good to see you. Tim Breckenridge, what's up, brother? Good to see you out there. Stephen Peterson, good morning. Let's fucking go. Henry Sheldon, speaking of Miami, what's up, man? How's it going out there? And I don't know who this is directed to, but let's connect. I dig what you're doing. Oh, Matt, there you go. To that, I was like, wait, Matt, your name's Matt. Sorry, fucking brain fart out here. You know, sorry. I went to public school. You guys give me a break. Yeah, man. But dude, this is the 119th live show that we've done at this point. We're on a roll, man. I just, dude, it was earlier this year when the market like started shifting and everything else. And just a lot of the stuff that I saw out there from an information perspective was just so like deterring. And I'm like, as somebody who's bootstrapping their entire organization and building up everything and privately funding all this, I'm like, why aren't we offering any fucking solutions to these people? Like, the solution is never to quit. And if you're advocating for anybody to quit and go out of business, go fuck yourself. That is my unfiltered response to anybody who advocates for anybody to sell their business.
No, you're right. Just it's time to grind, guys. It's time to grind, and the strong will survive. I think we'll see that, right? And we're in a really turbulent time, time of transition, a time where smoke and mirrors isn't going to work anymore, right? It's going to be the bona fide, authentic, real solutions that shine through and bring us to the next stage of supply chain.
Dude, and I'm right there with you, Matt, because like to me personally, it's like you can leverage technology while still having a personal customer service approach to everything. And I think that's where some people really miss is in the digital world, is they remove that human to human element to it. And it's like, I personally think in freight brokerage, like 95% of my day should be automated, like legitimately everything from order taking to building orders, tendering, all of that shit should be automated. But that when you automate 95% of that frees up 95% of your time so you can focus on the most important aspect of it. And that's that personal relationships with your drivers, your carriers, and your customers, because again, I think people fail to realize that we crave human interaction, like we crave that more but so many people are always like, oh, I'm going to send the same fucking automated email to the same people. Why is nobody responding to my prospecting? Why do you fucking think it literally looks like the same as everybody else is?
Right. Yeah. Look, I mean, that's a really good thought, right? I mean, leveraging technology to enhance the relationship.
Yes.
Right. Pushing out all the minutia with, the monotonous day-to-day tasks that we have to do, automating that, and then focusing what's important within that relationship, not only on the relationship, but like, what do you need to be doing more within that relationship, and what is really driving the importance of that relationship, right? So I love it, man. I love it.
No, dude. And so the main kind of the nuts and bolts of this show that we do is breaking down industry headlines and articles. And I handpicked all of these, obviously, to talk and, to correlate what you guys are doing at Pop Capacity and everything else, because like, I know for a fact that you guys are solving a major pain point that is out there right now. And frankly, warehousing has always been a pain in the ass. Like, it's always been a pain in the ass to find something that is going to be sustainable for the long term, that fits what you need. And especially if you're like, I always think about startups like the CPG space and everything else. Like, they don't need an entire warehouse, but what they need is like a couple of racks, in a warehouse and everything else, and getting all of that stuff out there. And the first article we're going to break down today is from the JOC, and their inland conference is going to be next week in Chicago. I'm going to be doing my live show from there and everything. But, it's talking about, this is an article from earlier this month, and it was U.S. shippers fine-tuned search for warehousing space, and that shippers can't find enough warehousing space for a shoebox, essentially, let alone a container of freight. And they're working to squeeze more space out of the facilities that they're already using or leasing that's out there. And, it goes on because, again, like, location's everything. Like, you can't put a warehouse, well, you can, but like, ideally, you're not going to, if you're importing stuff out through Long Beach, the Inland Empire is about as far as you want to move that stuff. You don't want to go up to fucking Vacaville, which is 200 miles outside of LA and everything else. And so it's like, what are you seeing out there right now? Is it like, are you seeing like, hey, with the way that warehousing is, are we just going to build our own new industrial areas outside of major metros? Is that like a conversation that you're having?
So I think it's twofold, right? So what we're seeing is what we read in the commercial real estate world, sub 1 capacity in LA and Phoenix and all that, that is correct in a commercial real estate perspective, right? So once that building is leased out by a 3PL, that capacity is off the market from a long-term perspective, right? It's already leased with a 3PL. What we're seeing is these 3PLs actually have space, right? So it's not at capacity from a sublease perspective with a 3PL in there. They're actually have space, and that's what we're showcasing in the marketplace. So I think there's a little bit more capacity floating around the market than what people think there are. However, it is tight. And it's super important with a tight market to find that right provider, not just a provider. I was just talking with our co-founder, Derek, about this, right? Our job is to make sure that we find the right person, not a person, to handle this really important initiative for them, right? So look, things they are undoubtedly tight, right? But when you start looking at what they are building out, like if you look at North Las Vegas, if you look at other areas outside major metropolitans, there are major commercial realtors developing warehouse space, right? So the warehouse space is going to get gobbled up by massive retailers on long-term commitments or really large 3PLs to help grow their infrastructure. That's going to happen. I think that part of that article too was really going into leveraging what was at hand as well, right? So, we're seeing that if you look at your existing infrastructure, you can use it, right? Unless it's going out of market, definitely learn how to optimize it and use it, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's be putting robotics in there, allocating the right SKUs in the right warehouse, placing the right containers in the right yards, whatever it may be, that is going to be super important when just looking at, right sizing your warehousing capacity and distribution strategy there.
Do you think like it's going to become more and more of a common theme to see competitors collaborating? Like you look at a company like an Amazon, and again, these are all hypothetical scenarios here right now, you guys, but like an Amazon has a fulfillment center that's only at half capacity and Target is in need of warehousing space. Do you think there's going to be collaboration where they're going to sublease out some of their current infrastructure in that regard?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, look at Gap. Right, Gap just announced that they're going to put out their fulfillment centers into the open market and offer 3PL services, just like any other fulfillment company. That's huge to the market, right? When capacity is tight, there's a supplier raising their hand, and hey, by the way, Gap, we've got a place where you can put that space in a marketplace. But they're looking to see how they can improve. Look, and they're doing it to drive revenues too. Let's not be naive to that. They have an open void and they want to make money off of it. But it's also supporting and helping an industry, which, hats off to them for doing that. So yes, we're going to see it, right? I mean, technology partnerships and relationships are going to be the driving force of the modern day supply chain, period.
Yeah.
So we're going to see more and more competitors start taking that competitor hat off and start realizing, okay, here's the value we have, here's the value you have, and how can we make a better supply chain?
No, definitely. I like it. And then that's kind of going to be a indirect lead into our next article. That article, you guys, from JOC, and that's US Shippers Fine-Tuned Search for warehousing space. And again, you guys, all the articles are going to be on the Freight Coach YouTube channel, as well as a copy of the Freight Coach audio only replay. So again, you guys, please read all of these on your own, because this is all valuable information that you can bring to your current clients in any capacity that's out there. Adam Gillis, good morning. Laura, it's all right that you're arriving late. We're all good. Henry Sheldon says it's happening now in retail. Louis, what's up, brother? Good to see you out there, man. He's from Rolling Dice Logistics. Cody Miller, good fucking morning to you as well. And Henry said real-time logistics, the warehousing has to be closed. Yeah, no, I'm right there. I'm right there with you. And this next article was from a couple of days ago. It was last week, actually. And it was from Supply Chain Dive. And then this one was Amazon cancels and delays dozens of warehouses as it looks to right-size capacity. And it gave a map of where they're canceled, closing, delaying, and putting them on hold, which is wild to see, because it's ironically around the ports. If you pay attention to it, it's literally every port city that's on there, they're canceling. And, so again, it's like when you see a company like Amazon taking this, is this the fact, Matt, that you think that they're like, fuck it, we're just going to build our own? Like, we're not going to try and buy existing stuff. We're just going to build out our own.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of that and just over developing and over anticipating what they were going to need. Right. Amazon is one of the most ambitious companies in supply chain.
Yeah.
They've completely done what everybody thought they couldn't do. So I think it's mainly they overcommitted to the capacity that they're going to need. And now they're kind of backtracking a little bit, which is completely fine. Right. I mean, there's all sorts of articles
talking about here, guys.
Yeah. And that's a really good map, by the way, too, because it does indicate like there's nothing popping up in these port cities where you just so desperately need it. But a lot of the reason is real estate costs are so expensive right now. Like they're astronomical. So going back in, especially if they're going into renewing a lease, it's not going to make sense to go into that market. I think they're going to do much of what we're seeing some other larger supply chain companies do, is reviewing the existing infrastructure and seeing how we can squeeze the best out of what we have now versus going into a really expensive market and leasing new space. But there's always something new coming out of Amazon, right? I mean, from cutting loose 10 million square foot of warehouse space into the open market, right? Which is another good thing. I don't know where that space is right now. We haven't seen it hit the market. I'm sure it got gobbled up by some retailers or CPG companies, but every day is a different story with these guys, right?
I know. And like the one thing that stuck out to me the most is when their spokesperson, Maria Bichetti, she had said, we have dozens of fulfillment centers, sortation centers, and delivery stations under construction and evolving around the world. It's common for us to explore multiple locations simultaneously and adjust the timetable based on the needs. And it's almost like, to me, I'm reading that and be like, yeah, they pretty much use those ones as like a trial and error, like a test center, essentially, of, hey, is this going to actually improve our operations as a whole? Or is this going to set us back? Is this going to cause any unwanted delays and everything else that we're seeing out there? So again, it's like, I think that's what I love about a company like Amazon is like I would love to know what their R&D budget is on a lot of this stuff, because it's like, it's just insane. Because when you see 42 facilities that they've canceled or closed or delayed or have placed on hold, like that's not a small amount of real estate by any stretch of the imagination.
That's more than any company in the world. Let's just be real, right? Probably more than any company in the world as far as an expansion. So, I mean, the way that inventory levels were in post-pandemic e-commerce boom, right? And everybody shifted to things being delivered to their doorsteps. Someone forecasted and misstepped a little bit, maybe, right? They may have projected, and it might, we're going to see it too. It might level set. They might come back and be like, well, we actually needed 38 out of the 42. And the real estate market settled a little bit. So now it makes more sense for us to, our pro forma matches now. So let's go ahead and procure those. Like I said, every other week is something different with these guys. But they have a ton of data to make these good decisions, though, right? So we'll see.
Absolutely. And the article closes out by saying that they're delaying the opening of 24 facilities slated to open later this year. Some have had their openings pushed back to as far as 2024, but they said their company's going to pay the lease expense, but they're going to avoid ramping up additional payroll and everything else. So it's essentially going to be a wash for them over that time frame as they're kind of seeing the shakeout and everything else and the fallout about like what we're seeing as a whole here in the industry. And that article was from Supply Chain Dive. You guys, Amazon cancels and delays dozens of warehouses. And the final article that we're going to break down is, I'm really excited about this. And this one's from transportdive.com. And it's the LTL carrier Yellow optimizes Western U.S. terminals to become super regional carrier. And it goes on to say Yellow's route optimization is part of the carrier's bid to consolidate its 4 LTL brands, YRC, Redaway, New Penn, and Holland, along with Yellow Logistics. Once the optimization is complete, efficiencies are gained through improved asset utilization and lower overall miles. And Yellow has been eliminating overlapping routes in the Western U.S. and in the first phase of the network reconfiguration. The first phase of the plan seeks a more efficient service in over 4,600 zip codes. Phase 2, affecting about half of the company's terminals, will focus on operations in the Midwest and Northeast, and Phase 3 will be centered in the Southeast and Central U.S. And it goes on to say we are nearing the finish line of enterprise-wide transformation that began in 2019. Are you so like I've been talking about this for a few months now, and this is why I need Jamie that like Joe Rogan has, where he's like, hey Jamie, pull up this clip and everything, because I need all because I know I've talked about this, and what I've seen out there along those lines, Matt, is companies are restructuring more towards like a hub and spoke regional focus model because it's a consumer. I think it's based solely on consumer behavior, where it's like, you know, obviously the last article we broke down was Amazon. I could order something on my phone on Amazon right now and have it at my front door in fucking 2 hours. Yep. You know, I think like, do you see that out there? Like companies are like, they're pushing to more of that real time, same day availability from a consumer purchase power through like e-commerce and stuff.
Oh yeah. Everybody wants same day. Right? Consumers do. I do. Right? I want it like within the next couple hours if I order it before noon.
Yeah.
And I think that's the expectation that everybody has. So yeah, I mean, everybody's pushing to more of a micro fulfillment land where they can at least get it over the road next day to the consumer. What's really interesting about this article is this is a really old legacy company, right? This is an LTL common carrier. And for them to understand and start realizing that we can better optimize and do it in phases is really a telltale sign of where the industry is going, right? When you have some legacy companies raising their hands saying, you know what, we can do better with the existing, and this is how we're going to make the improvements. They're not optimizing using a spreadsheet. I promise you that. They're using some sort of tool that's allowing them to optimize and consolidate the distribution. It's a daunting task, right? Because you've got 4 brands there that all, you know, have different lanes, regions, but now they're identifying that we do cross-pollinate and there are areas that we overlap. How do we eliminate overlapping and provide a better service for the customers? It's very interesting.
I know. And that's what I'm the most excited about as things are going to progress it's like when we're going to build up our infrastructure as a country to be able to sustain consumer behaviors. Because I think like that had a lot, you know, over the last couple of years, obviously there's a ton of panic buying. There's a ton of overbuying inventory just because they'd rather have. I personally think like a lot of the larger retailers took the approach of we'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it because of what happened. Again, I think that's just my assumption. I'm not a fucking, you know, internally anywhere, but that's what I guess what I would do if that was my major retailer is I was like, all right, I would look at the cost of inventory at a loss if we liquidated as opposed to the cost of not having it and then having my customer go to another retailer who has it in stock, because that's like, it's the future purchasing power that I think people don't think about unless you're in the transportation industry. At least for me, that's what I was thinking about. Like when I read all these articles that are out there about inventory levels being sky high, I'm almost like, if I was in their shoes, I probably would have done the exact same thing because I'd rather have it and not need it than lose out on potential business because they went to my competitor who had it in stock that time. And now all of a sudden they're like, fuck Chris Jolly retail store. I'm going to go to these guys now.
Yeah, for the next 3 months, right? And I spoke with a buyer with Walmart a few years ago, and that was the exact thing. It's not that point of sale transactional loss. It's what did you do for the next 5 trips, right? Mm-hmm. So if I went to go get a certain kind of conditioner for my hair and it wasn't there, but
which you clearly use, that's a fucking solid set of hair you got going there.
Man, I worked on this for this show. But yeah, I mean, that consumer is now going to go buy it. If you had to go to Target to get that new conditioner, they're going to buy it from Target for the next 2 to 3, 4 times. And along with their cheese and their, you know, everything else that they're buying that it traditionally would at a Walmart store. So it's just the cost of losing that customer for a short period of time, right? It's awesome seeing the supply chain be more customer focused.
Yes.
Understanding the customer's need and versus saying, well, this is what we've done for years on and for decades. We're not changing. It's worked. They're saying now, you know what? These are the improvements we're making, and we're going to make it public. This is what we're doing, guys. So
I love it. That article, you guys, transportdive.com and LTL carrier Yellow optimizes Western U.S. terminals, become super regional carrier. Let me see. Lewis says, Matt Fain in the house. Got some love out here, man. Garrett Bauer says, no doubt, Matt. We dropped our warehouse and office lease in California last month. Grace Sharkey says hi and hope all is well. Cool, Grace. I'm not existing here, I guess, either. That's fine. Henry Sheldon says, huge task, not easily done. And loving the transition. And then Derek Loftus is he agrees it's just just in case over just in time that's going on out there. Jory Myers, what's up? He was on the show last Friday. And then Hank Miller, he says, hi, everyone. So, dude, as we're kind of closing out the show, because, again, I like to be mindful of people's time and keep it to as close to 30 minutes as possible. What is from your spot with all the people you're talking to right now, what is your thoughts on how peak season is going to kind of roll out this year? From a freight perspective, is it going to be similar to what we've seen over the last couple of years, or is, with everything that's going on in warehousing and everything else, it's just going to be a continued clusterfuck, we'll call it?
It's going to be challenging. I don't think it was going to be as bad as last year, right? But I think people have aligned with some really good partners. They've understood that they went ahead and brought the inventory in. Inventory is already in the warehouses. Yes, there's containers still stacked up in ports, but most of the inventory that's needed for this peak season is here. So, I mean, I pray that it's going to be better than it was in previous years. I know that we've aligned a lot of good retailers with some good suppliers to get them through this hump while also building for the future. So I think everything over the next 5 years, we're going to see some really good stabilization, some really good partnerships, like long-term partnerships that are both have like this dedicated SOP, but also agile enough to make pivots, because we all know a rigid supply chain will break. We all saw it happen 2 years ago. So I think the nimbleness, I think people are adopting agility. They're adopting technologies and service providers that offer them agility so things don't break anymore. And with that is going to come a better peak. So I hope.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel you, man. Dude, how does anybody reach out more? I mean, obviously you guys connect with Matt on LinkedIn and everything, but how can anybody find out more about you or Pop Capacity? Yeah,
so you can go to a website, just popcapacity.com, right? If you're a 3PL warehouse provider, it's free to register and get involved with our marketplace. For shippers, right, it is the only place to go to procure and look and just kind of get an idea of what's going on. Some market insights are going to be cutting loose here pretty soon. So we're going to have some data, much like our friends over at Freight Waves, right? We're going to be submitting some data to help everybody just understand how to get through this stinking journey, right? And yeah, so Matt at popcapacity.com too, if you want to reach out, or hello@popcapacity.com if you just want to get some general information.
Perfect. I love it. Well, that's it for today, you guys. That's the Freight Coach Morning Show. We'll be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central. And as always, you guys, if you guys see value in this, share the show, because that's how this is going to continue to grow and evolve and solidify itself as legitimately the top morning show in this industry and the most reliable news source, in my opinion, in this industry as well. So with that being said, you guys, I appreciate you guys all so much, and we'll be talking to you soon.